Okay, a year ago I made a video ranking the Assassin's Creed games to include Origins. Well, we're back again this year to do the same, but with Odyssey, the latest entry to the franchise. So in this video, yes, we're ranking the Assassin's Creed games for 2019. Please do bear in mind that this video is my opinion and I respect yours, so please do be respectful in the comments. Or you could continue being a Neanderthal and wind up in my next comments video. It's up to you. But this video is just my opinion and I'm not trying to force it down your throats by any measure, so please don't feel as if that's what I'm doing. Anyways, now that long-winded disclaimer is out the way, it's time to actually get into ranking. Though I think I should mention that none of the side games will be mentioned in this. For example, Assassin's Creed Liberation or Bloodlines will not be counted, neither will the Chronicles games, because it's not really fair to compare a AAA title to a game that had a fraction of the budget. But anyways, now all that riffraff is sorted, let's go. So right at the bottom in number 11th place we have got Assassin's Creed Syndicate. This game was essentially a mockery of Assassin's Creed with a short story and I'm sorry for the buggy mess that was Unity plastered on it. The joke's on this game, it was a buggy mess too, and on top of that the game was somewhat uninteresting and dull. The protagonists were half-baked and really didn't appeal to me, and to top it off, the modern day was atrocious. Better than Unity's, sure, but still poor. Gameplay was a lot more restrictive, you couldn't even throw yourself off of rooftops anymore, which is a shame because that's exactly what the game made me want to do. And the combat was choppy, and all in all, I wasn't the biggest fan of Syndicate once my mind settled. Then there's all the cool storylines that it kicked off, only for them to finish in fucking comic books, which in my mind is super annoying. But anyways, that's where Syndicate sits on this list. Next up, we've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The new entry to the franchise feels far too separate to even consider it as a proper Assassin's Creed game. I won't rely wholly on that argument, as there is a good game somewhere under that painfully irrelevant goings on, and it is a somewhat enjoyable RPG, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey forgets that it's Assassin's Creed. I think it's quite obvious that Ubisoft Quebec didn't want to make an Assassin's Creed game, and I think the higher ups should have given them their own IP to create a fully fledged ancient Greek RPG with no limitations, which would have been much better suited to them because, to be fair, there's passion in there, I just don't believe it's passion for Assassin's Creed. And Odyssey just makes me interested in figuring out what that passion truly is for, because if they had their own IP they wouldn't be limited by Assassin's Creed in any way, which is Odyssey's problem. But another problem that Odyssey had was its contribution to Assassin's Creed being fucking ridiculous. I won't spoil it for you, but I will say that's the kind of thing that happens in fan fictions.
But Fizhy, this game got nominated for Game of the Year, it must be great.
It got nominated for Game of the Year because it has the Assassin's Creed title on it. I'd say that the game itself is decent, not great or amazing or bad in any way, but when it comes to Assassin's Creed, it's quite poor. But it would be unfair to say there's no fun to be had in this game, so if you want to go ahead and give it a try, then it's definitely worth it. But anyways, unfortunately, that's where the new entry to the franchise sits on my list. The next one's gonna get people very, very mad. Assassin's Creed 3 is one of those games that starts off really strong, but it sort of fizzes out after the prologue, only to wind up having sour feelings regarding the rest of the game. I enjoyed Haytham's character in the new gameplay in this game introduced with a fresh engine, but the setting and protagonist Connor were both ultimately very bland. I'm not the biggest fan of how the plot was written, and ultimately the game ended on a massive middle finger that the franchise will probably never recover from. At the same time, this game also introduced a new engine which felt a bit more natural and dynamic and was quite fun to use, and there was a lot of stuff in this game that I actually enjoyed, but my biggest problem with Assassin's Creed 3 was that it felt unfinished. And had it not had that feeling, I'm sure the game would have been incredible. But in my mind, Assassin's Creed 3 marked where the franchise started to get a bit bumpy, and that's why I've placed it so high on the list. Moving on, next we have Assassin's Creed Unity. Assassin's Creed Unity was a game that had many downfalls and upheavals. It's got satisfying gameplay and a decent stealth system when it actually works, as well as decent combat. However, the experience has been diluted by the hilariously poor optimization that the game had on launch. If you don't believe me, I haven't magicked these images out of nowhere, these are actual people's experiences. This game is perhaps one of the buggiest messes that I've ever played, and it ran like a lumpy onion. However, I will hand it to Unity, the patches improved the experience, but this has not by any means cleaned up the bug fest that this game is. I love Unity for its bugs because just when things can't get any worse, the game will find a way to really get a giggle out of you. Story-wise, the game was decent and was basically the protagonist more or less trying to get laid with a side dish of revenge. Beyond the story, the game introduced co-op, which was also fun when it worked and fun on paper, but it grew boring very quickly and ultimately was forgettable. To top it all off, Assassin's Creed Unity was overhyped as well, with like a trailer releasing every week, which significantly harmed my opinion on the game, but I also appreciate how eye-opening this was to Ubisoft, both with their attitude towards PC fanbase and their attitude to making sure the game actually works before shipping it. Though they couldn't fully apply this to Syndicate, but definitely did apply it to Origins and later Odyssey. A quick note to those of you who are mad at me for criticising Unity for its glitches based on my experience with the game: if you were lucky enough to not experience glitches, A, I don't believe you, and B, you probably just didn't notice. I don't think it's a disputable fact that Unity was a buggy mess, but regardless, let's move on. So next we've got Assassin's Creed Rogue, which for what it was I actually did like. It showed an alternative perspective of the Assassin-Templar conflict, giving us the story in the eyes of a man who's seen both perspectives himself. Now this game could have been executed better and been longer, and it was essentially a Black Flag copy, but since it came out alongside Unity, a Black Flag copy was all it needed to be, at least engine wise. It's there as an appetizer game, if you will. I enjoyed Rogue a lot, I must say, but one big issue I had with it is that it brought pointless collectibles to a whole new level of madness. Either way, Rogue's story is ideal for those who wish to experience a Templar's perspective on the everlasting war between Assassins and Templars. Unfortunately, on launch this was only exclusive to the last generation, however they actually remastered ported the game over to current generation last year. But anyways, let's move on. Moving on, we've got the game that started it all: Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed 1 is a special game. It's the benchmark of its time for sure, that being 2007, and it really innovated the industry. Starting the super interesting story that Assassin's Creed used to be is another reason why I'll never forget about this game. However, looking back, it's hardly the best that the franchise has given us, since it's very repetitive gameplay wise, which is something Assassin's Creed has never properly resolved. But even by Assassin's Creed standards, this game could be a bit on the tedious side. It's a fun game you can blast through in about a day, and I definitely recommend looking past its aging if you wish to get into the franchise, because Assassin's Creed 1 is the only place to start. And of all the games that Ubisoft have remastered, they haven't touched this one, which they definitely should. Either way, I really do love this game as the game that got me into this franchise, and so that's where it's sitting on the list. Next we have Assassin's Creed Revelations, which was the epic conclusion to the Ezio trilogy and the first 4 games as a whole, combining the end of Ezio's story with the end of Altair's and acting as a revelation to Desmond for where he needs to go next. The story is incredible and the gameplay is decent. Ezio's character is, as always, fantastic, and in my mind this is the perfect conclusion to Ezio's story. I will say the open world is very dull in this game, however, which does bring it down a fair bit, but ultimately the game is fantastic either way. And this game and the rest of the Ezio trilogy I highly recommend. But anyways, let's move on. After Assassin's Creed 3, Ashraf Ismail came along and took the new elements of 3 and made an absolutely incredible experience. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is a fun and unique Assassin's Creed game that often gets referred to as a bad Assassin's Creed game, which in my mind it certainly isn't. Because though we don't play as an assassin, Black Flag does not forget that it's in the Assassin's Creed universe and adheres to its logic. At the same time, the Assassins and Templars are always present in the story, and the whole while the protagonist Edward Kenway is entangled with the Assassin and Templar conflict, even if he doesn't become an assassin until really late in the game. I do, however, take issue with the rushed nature of the ending of this game, and the modern day wasn't particularly great, but all in all, dare I say, this is the best pirate game I've ever played, and it has decent Assassin's Creed elements in its defense. Overall, I really loved Black Flag, even though it did have its tedious moments, and rate it very highly. But anyways, now that that's sorted, let's move on. In third place we have Assassin's Creed Origins, which I used to think was second place because I felt as if it was a breath of fresh air for the franchise. However, since it was squandered immediately in the next year by Odyssey, completely forgetting it's even Assassin's Creed, it's hard to see it that way anymore. And instead it just feels like an outlier. An incredible game no less, but still an outlier. I stand by my opinions that Origins has a majestic setting, a great character, and a really good story, as well as a cool new direction for the franchise, at the very least ticking the boxes of rejuvenation in concept, and I love the game even still. Just give me a bloody Bayek sequel. Damn it. To top off the amazing game that is Origins, it got 2 fantastic story DLCs, The Hidden Ones and Curse of the Pharaohs, which were also pretty top-notch quality. My only real complaint is that the modern day didn't do very much. But beyond that, Assassin's Creed Origins is a great game and is definitely worth playing. So if you haven't played Assassin's Creed Origins yet, then get on it. So Origins comes in at 3rd on my list this year. In 2nd place, we have got Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which in my mind is the perfect continuation to Assassin's Creed 2, continuing Ezio's story, this time in Rome, building a Brotherhood to remove the Borgia from power. I really do love Brotherhood and feel as if it's the perfect middle section to Ezio's story. I will criticise that the combat's a tad too easy, but beyond that I really did have fun liberating Rome and building the Brotherhood with recruits, ranking those recruits up and sending them on missions across Europe. I also enjoyed the banking system and renovating Rome itself, that was another fun feature, and the game does have some decent side content. All in all, I really love Brotherhood, so let's move on to the number 1 spot, which of course goes to the amazing, the incredible, Assassin's Creed Rebellion. I'm joking, fuck that. Of course the top spot is still going to Assassin's Creed 2, for its incredible story and protagonist as well as an atmospheric setting and compelling villain. Topped with a good modern day, this game is pretty damn special. It's not aged awfully well, I must say, but then again we did get a remaster of it. Regardless, Assassin's Creed 2 is what I think of when I think of Assassin's Creed right in its prime, and as the benchmark for quality that needs to be modernised yet emulated in a unique and fresh way in a future Assassin's Creed title, whenever that may be. But anyways, there you have it, a re-ranking of the Assassin's Creed games to house Odyssey for 2019. Of course, please do bear in mind that that was in my opinion, and if you do respect my opinion, then I will respect yours. It is as simple as that. But anyways, thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends, and let me know what you think down in the comment section. What's your list? Let me know, and if you want to let me know why, then do that as well. Be sure to go ahead and follow me on Twitter as well, I would really appreciate that, and if you want to go ahead and join the community Discord, there will be a link in the description. But anyways, I will see you all very soon with another video at some point.